Welcome to this week's Primed Insight. Are your dust collector cartridges costing you more than they should? Dirty or worn out filters decrease your airflow and increase operating cost. Let's get into some of the things to check on the next round here. So one of the most important parts to your dust collector is a reverse pulse. So as your filters run and they pull the dust up to the filter, the reverse pulse blows a strong puff of air backwards that's designed to knock the dust off the filter and settle out in the drum at the bottom. If your pulse isn't working properly, your filter won't clean itself properly and they'll fail prematurely. Now, if you notice maybe blow-by dust coming out of the exhaust of your dust collector, you can get damage or tears within the pleats of the filter. So if we come in here and we really look at it, you can kind of see where a pleat's starting to separate. This is actually normal, but if the reverse pulse has actually worn out the filter from the inside or your PSI to the pulse is too high, you can actually put holes in the filter cartridge itself. And how you see that or expose that in the field is that dust will be coming out of the exhaust. You also can have an issue where the filter is not seating properly against the top of the filter housing. So one of the things that we get tons of calls on this time of year, being the end of July, it's hot and humid outside. So customers will have filters, and when you go to look at the pleats, when you open up your dust collector filter, the cartridges are just caked up full, and the reverse pulse maybe isn't working how it should. So you have to be careful sometimes when you're in an indoor environment and you go to an outdoor environment that you changed the temperature outside. So what that does is increases the humidity within the air and helps that dust truly cake together. You want to make sure you, when you first fire your dust collector up, you give those filters just a second to dry themselves out before you really get into that heavy dust. So it's good to maybe fire your dust collector up a little bit before blasting and let that thing really cycle and get broken in before the day starts. So earlier I talked about moisture in your header tanks. So sometimes your compressed air maybe doesn't have the proper air drying when it's going to that header tank. And if you have moisture in there, remember that pulse is blowing down through the filter. If you blow moisture on the inside of the filter pleats get wet and then they really cake up and it's very hard to pulse the dust back off of that. So you want to make sure that the air going into the header tank is extremely dry. So the next thing you're going to want to look at, or maybe one of the first things in the day, is you're going to watch your differential pressure gauge. So within this system here, there's a magnehelic gauge built in there, and what it's measuring is the inches of water across your filter. So from dirty side of the filter to the clean side. And as those filters start to clog, that number will climb. And you preset your controller so that once that number climbs, the system will start pulsing. You don't want to overdo it, and you want to give the system enough time to recharge before the next pulse cycle hits. And also on that pulse cycle, you want a quick burst of air in milliseconds. You don't really want to pump a bunch of air backwards through the filter. You can run the pulse during or after dust collection cycles. So we've gone over a few tips here to help you in the field. Remember, you're not replacing filters by age. You're replacing the filters off of their performance. If you don't have blow-by coming out of the top of your blower and your magnehelic gauge is still reading properly, you don't really have to replace those filters. You're after a clogged filter or blow-by dust.